You okay?
Yeah, I'm just feel bad being behind schedule. Good morning. Hope you guys are staying dry on this rainy Monday morning. So we had 100% coaching participation last week. Fantastic job with you guys and Richard. We're improving our weekly coaching templates. So one of the things that Richard will be working on with you all this next week is on your KDNA tip sheets. So those tip sheets have all been updated within the last 90 days. Make sure that you're reviewing those. That way you can be well prepared for your coaching calls this week. We want to make sure that you're all in the green group each week, because the agents in the green do have an average income of, well over our minimum annual income goal for the brokerage. So we have, it looks like 10 agents that were in the yellow last week in their KDNA. Keep in mind, the annual average income for those agents that are in the yellow is around $64,000 a year. So it's less than half of our agents that are in the green, and they consistently remain in the green. So two metrics that Richard will be talking to you about deeper and more than typical is metric number 3 and number 5, which in this next week, which is basically how many hours a week are you working and how many people are you talking to? What are you saying to those people that you're coming into contact with, and how are you making contact with people? So make sure you review those KDNA tip sheets for metric number 3 and KDNA tip sheets for metric number 5. We also want to focus on your successes that you're having on those, and some of the contacts. It looks like just this last week, Kathy had 35 people that she spoke to. She was towards the top of the green grit list, and she was over goal in several metrics. Kathy last week closed over $50,000 in commissions for last week. So that's a significant income for simply focusing on those two metrics. So keep in mind, focus deep, not necessarily wide. We want to focus really deep on 3 and 5, which is how many people you're talking to and what are you saying? What's the quality of those conversations? So quality over quantity. And this is the time of the year that the strength of your presentation skills, the strength of your qualifying skills, the strength of how you're making recommendations to your buyers and to your sellers is extremely important. This last week, I was probably attending more events and around more people than I've been all year put together. And so much of the dialogue and the conversations that I was having with people was, they were asking me. One, I'd send out an email to everyone that was in my top producer contact base last week. So a lot of people had received those emails, and they use that as a talking point. Oh, I got your email about the market, and I thought it was informative. Or, I've been meaning to ask you, or by the way, we're also looking for more space. So that keeps you top of mind, sending those emails once a month to everyone that's in your database, making sure you're touching everyone. To use 5 different ways to touch your clients. So text message, email, phone calls, face-to-face meetings or pop-bys, online, your social presence. Are you in front of them socially? Online, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram. So maintaining that top of mind presence during this time of the year. April, one of the strongest selling months of the year. Most of the good agents this year do not have time to service all of their clients. I've had several friends of mine they're also realtors, and they do not have time to service the business that they have right now. And there's only so many good agents in this city. And so when it's busy, when the market's on fire like it is right now, this is the time to go in and take advantage of. So there's a lot of people out there that they may have worked with the same agent for years, but if that agent is so busy that they can't handle the business, then you have a better shot now than anyone. So make sure you're taking advantage of that, because that's not like that throughout the entire year. April, it's just such a busy, tremendously busy month. So make sure that you're spending your time on listing business development activities, and it's the listing business development activities that will increase your profitability this time of the year. Looks like Kathy also had 450 direct mail pieces or pieces that she put out. She's here. Thank you for attending, Kathy. What were some of the things that you put out, your call to action and your messaging last week for your marketing?
We did a just listed postcard for Munger Place, and it's like 450 that we put out, that just asking them, we just listed this and you want to know what the market value is for your property, as market values have changed drastically.
She put out 450 just listed postcards around a new listing, and also the call to action was, would you like to know what your property value is worth, or how much has your property value increased? So speaking to the change in the market, keep in mind people respond to change, and in the messaging, how has the market changed? How has your market value changed in the last year? So that's important messaging to be putting on Facebook and on your marketing that you're putting out there. What were some of the inquiries, the conversions that you had last week? Where did those come from? It looks like you had 4 pre-listing appointments. Where were those pre-listing appointments from?
We sent out 200 letters to apartment complexes, and I had 1 pre-listing for 2 apartment complexes that somebody owns that I'm hopefully going to tie up this week.
And the content of those letters what was the call to action on the letters?
You want to know the value of your apartment complex, and want to move up into, because I'm targeting really smaller complexes, so 50 units or under.
Right.
And so now is the time to maybe move up or move on to another investment.
Great. So Kathy sent out over 200 marketing pieces last week to multifamily apartment. A week before last. Yeah. So the results of some of her marketing last week obviously were from something that she did, marketing activities 2 weeks ago, which was 200 letters to multifamily apartment complex owners. And her call to action was, is it time to move up, to reinvest? 1031 exchanges. That's a good part of Kathy's business, and that's typical with most investors, to roll over their proceeds and their tax liability in 1031 exchange. So she was speaking to that, and that developed into 2 listing appointments, pre-listing appointments for her last week, and it looks like she'll have 1.
And then I'm just continually calling my sphere of influence and people like, my private money lenders who may have something taken back and deals like that, just my sphere of influence to get them.
So Kathy, you've heard me talk about this a lot week to week. She has a very deep sphere of influence list. So usually the deeper your sphere of influence list, and when I say deep, I mean, I'm talking about quality, like the quality of your sphere of influence. These are maybe not just property owners, but they own multiple properties. They own properties that are multifamily and higher price points. So that's something that she's been really developing over the last, what did you say, 3 months, or how long? I've seen big results in your productivity and your profit over the last few months. To me, it appears to be as a result of really reminding them, staying in touch,
you're
right, with that sphere of influence.
This is what I can do for you. This is what I'm working on right now.
So
I'm really focusing in, and I need your help in getting me business.
So she's asking for the referral, and she's also conveying her value, doing a great job of conveying her value proposition, which for a lot of these investors, it's, how do I maximize my investment? How do I have a better return on my investment? How can I leverage other investments and use my capital, maybe reallocate my capital to where I'm putting my money to better use? With land values going up so much, and there's so many change in the rental market right now, then that's created a lot of change for Kathy's business. So she's a change agent. She's really notifying these people of what's changed in the market. So kudos to you. Great job for that. Anything else as far as results last week? It looks like you had 2 closings last week. 2 listing appointments that were 2 closings. So where did those closings come from?
One was a longtime client that he calls me every time a tenant vacates property. He decides he wants to sell it or do something, or do another one. So I just continually call David week after week after week after week.
So you always want to categorize. She said one was from a long time client that sends her consistent business, and
I have to call him every time.
Right, and she has to call up and remind him, because there's a lot of other people that are vying for that business as well. So it's That's when you have that's what you want to call your raving fans, people that are consistently sending you referrals or that have consistent business. She said she comments on Facebook pages, she sends him emails, so she's in front of him all the time. Yeah.
So he always remembers me.
Right. So she stays top of mind. So that's excellent.
And then the other one came from somebody just hearing me speak and referring me.
That's excellent. Angela, Christine, it looks like Angela had 68 contacts last week. That's fantastic. And Angela also had a closing last week and also had a sale that she put a property under contract as well, and a buyer rep agreement, and 3 buyer appointments that were held. And she had 5 new prospects. So Angela has very consistent pipeline of business, and that's because she keeps that momentum going and she's consistent with her prospecting efforts. This is the time of the year to where sometimes a lot of agents, even great agents, they fall back or they pull back on their prospecting efforts because they have so much in their pipeline. Don't fall into that trap. You want to run this like a business. Treat your business like a business. If you treat it like a business, then you will be able to level out the ebb and flow of the roller coaster ride that so many realtors have. And this is a ride where a lot of realtors are at the top of the roller coaster because they're so busy in April. So make sure that you're focused on that listing business development, finding sellers, because you should have a stack of buyers that are an inch deep. And it's about finding inventory and finding property in this market. So what are you doing? Every waking, living, breathing moment needs to be identifying inventory and finding houses for your stack of buyers, or the hundreds of buyers that are out there in line, because we know it's like an auction for everything that's under about $250,000. And what are you doing to create that auction venue and explain how the market's changed, how in this, especially through the summer months, it is an auction. So as I've explained before, and this is something I talked to several buyers and prospective sellers just this last week about this very conversation, which is pricing and seasonality in pricing. 65% of the moves happen in the summer months outside of the school season. And what happens is that it's the March and the April sales that create the sold comps that are usually premium sales that are the highest of the year. And so that those people that are listing their homes in April and May, then they're listing those at a lot higher price. And then a lot of these buyers that are in the market over the summer months set new highs. And we're going to see highs set this summer like highs we have never seen before. And that will continue to move into the third and the fourth quarter. So make sure that you're closing on any buyer right now. They need to be paying it forward, and they need to be pretty confident that that property is going to be worth an extra 3 to 4% by the end of the season. So if they need to pay an extra 1% to get their offer accepted, then that's what they need to do, because they're still going to be in the money and they're still going to have equity by the end of the year. So also, sellers, don't lose a listing appointment, don't lose a listing over price, because make sure that you're building that trend, the pricing trend, into your CMA presentation, and don't be pricing properties based on what properties have sold at. Be pricing them based on where the market's moving. Are you giving that kind of advice to your sellers? Make sure that you're properly counseling your sellers to where you're looking at the trend analysis, and they're, again, prepared, under promise, over deliver. So you want to make sure that you're coaching them to where you can test the market, but yet prepare them for worst case scenario. That appraisal can come in based on what the last property sold. We need to be prepared for that, but we can test the market, because this is what buyers may be willing to pay. This can change every day based on the competition that comes on the market. If something else is listed down the street this week, that can totally put a hole through our pricing strategy. So this can change on a daily basis. And that's part of my job, is to watch the market for you and week by week update you on where we are and what our competition is. So make sure you're properly counseling these. We have 2 classes this week that we'll be talking about: buyer dialogues for one class, and buyer objection handling, how to have powerful buyer presentations and powerful consultations with your buyers, making the recommendations that will make them write an offer that gets accepted, and make sure that those offers stay together and those contracts stay together through closing. The other thing is powerful listing presentations and powerful seller dialogues. So this goes for whether you're at a cocktail party, whether you're at a yoga class, the conversations that you have with potential sellers will carry over to that listing presentation and all the way through the closing process of closing on that listing appointment to closing that property and working through the appraisal process and all the contingencies to get that property sold. So there's a lot of objection handlers we're going to be talking about, and there's a lot of powerful presenting dialogues and tips that we'll be talking about this week. So I would highly, highly encourage you to attend both of those sessions. And as I look over it, as I review some of our numbers, our productivity numbers with Richard each week in our coaching sessions, that's where I see our agents falling short the most, is having powerful dialogues and handling objections and giving proper recommendations with their buyers and also with their sellers. And that, like I said, that starts at a cocktail party and it goes all the way through closing that transaction at the title company and asking for the referral business. The power that you have in your recommendations and your market knowledge plays to the results that you'll be able to create and the profit that you'll be able to generate. So,
Can I add something to that?
yes.
This morning I listened to the Roberta Ross thing on
Right.
expired listings. He
Right.
told me to listen to it, so
Yes.
I did this morning. Okay, one of the most powerful things I got out of
Kathy
it.
said she listened to the Roberta Ross CD today that was about the expired listing person that spoke last
Yeah.
month.
And one of the things she said was that she asked permission of both buyers and sellers to tell them the truth throughout her business relationship.
Right.
So that no feelings are hurt or anything else like that. I thought that was such a good thing because so many times I'm like, I don't want to tell them,
Right.
you know? And she just goes ahead and just says, can I have your permission to always tell you the truth and there won't be any hard feelings?
Right.
And I thought that was so powerful, and that's what you're talking about, is creating dialogue. If you can break that barrier at first, that you can always just lay it on the line,
Right.
you know,
And
because that's what they really want to hear.
Kathy brings up a great point, and she said and this is a golden nugget out of that CD from Roberta Ross last week, and the interview she had with, is it Judy Ledoux in Austin? She's an agent in Austin that does a lot of expired listing business. So Laura Duggan, yes, I've met Laura. She's fantastic. We're in a mastermind group together, and Laura is brilliant with. You could tell an agent that's studied and practiced dialogues for years. And Laura's been in the business for years, but you can tell that she has masterfully crafted her presentation skills simply by practice.
I'm gonna get in my car and go drive it.
Yeah, as Malcolm Gladwell would say, it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master any skill. And I think Laura is someone that she maintains an intense focus and she practices her skills and her dialogues. And it's very evident in the interview that was on the Roberta Ross CD this last month. And one of the things that Kathy said is that she talks about, may I have your permission to tell you the truth? That's a golden nugget dialogue, and that's exactly the type of dialogues that we'll be talking about on Tuesday and Thursday. You need to be taking samples of what others have done over the years. That's all that Laura Duggan did. She didn't come up with that dialogue. She stole that. She created that from someone else. I was listening to a YouTube interview last night with a venture capitalist, and he said the best entrepreneurs in the world, they have the great entrepreneurs will copy something else. The best entrepreneurs will steal it. It's a little bit, it sounds a little bit harsh, but this is from John Doerr, one of the most successful venture capitalist billionaires in the world. So think about that, whether it's Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or anyone else that has really made a mark, then typically they copy it. This is no different with you running your business as a salesperson, as a realtor, to where you can copy these dialogues. It's the same fundamentals in this business that apply. And that's a great, I appreciate you sharing that, Kathy. Okay, we're out of time, so we'll conclude and hope to see you on Tuesday and Thursday to go over some of these dialogues. Have a productive week.